Hey, what's up, y'all? Matt, Dlux, DluxFab.com. Today, we're building a Class 3 Nessie. So, you guys order a Nessie, Class 3, Class 2, either way. Your chassis is going to come assembled, much as you see here. Just makes it simpler. So, just to show you where we're at. So, chassis is assembled. I've already done a bunch of the kind of the grunt work of the build here. I got a Holmes. This is just how the kit's going to come, guys. I got a Holmes Hobbies revolver snub nose 2040. That's the motor that comes spec for the C3 Nessie kit. OD3 transmission, of course. Pretty sweet piece. You guys know about all that. Shocks are going to come assembled, unassembled. You're going to need to build these. So, front 80mm, rear 96. Pretty standard stuff. You know, you guys have seen all this before. We're running medium springs all around on this. So you're going to have to build the shocks. There's videos on that. We've already done all that. Going to have to build the axles too. So, rear axle, SSD Dlux. This is ignore this tie rod end. I got to swap it out for a different one, but it'll serve the purpose for us building today. We're sending these with Holmes. We're sending these with Holmes SHV 650L low pro servos now. This has got underdrive gears because it's the rear axle, all aluminum, 0 degree. I believe these are, I don't remember the acronym right offhand. Aluminum upper arms, brass lowers. Got our Kingpin peg style C-hubs. The rear axle comes with this little servo skid. So, see how that goes on. Link riser for the rear, if desired. If you want it, use it. If you don't, don't. It's there if you want it. So that's the rear axle. Now for the front. So, SSD Dlux. Now, folks, here in the future, the near future, like now, we are going to all using these DX44 high clearance center sections on all these SSD Dlux steering axles. Steering axles. We can't use it on the SSD Dlux rear because there's no provision for a upper link mount with these pumpkins, these center sections. So, just a little note to keep in mind. Now, once again, SHV 650 LP from Holmes Hobbies. Got our peg style C-hubs. No screws here to get loose or get lost. Full brass setup with the heavy lowers. Pretty nice. That'll add all your weight you need on your front end. Overdrive gears for the front. Under for the rear, as we said before. The 4 links actually mount here and here on this axle. The upper 4 links. So here in a few minutes when we go to build that, I'll have to pop this screw out. But we'll get to that in a minute. Pretty straightforward. You guys see how that all goes together. Now, on these front axles, or on these SSD Dlux axles, you only need a 20mm horn. If you're trying to use a 24mm to get all your steering throw, you're doing it incorrectly. This is a 24, as you can see here. It's got the extra screw hole on there. Let me get my little handy-dandy pointer. I'm going to cut this end off. Just that, because you don't, with moving the pivot point for the drag link a little further in, you don't need all that servo horn. And that keeps that distance from the pivot point here to here, and the pivot point from this screw to the one in the center of the servo. It keeps those pretty much equal. So it keeps your geometry nice and squared away. So we got, get the wires out of the way. So we hit with a 20mm horn on here, as this is set up, we have all of the steering throw. See, we're hitting the steering stop here. You go the other way, we're hitting the steering stop here. So we got all of the throw, just with that 20mm horn. You've seen me build these axles on the channel before. We don't need to cover all this 2 or 3 times. You guys get it. So the axles are built. I'm going to set this aside. So, to start here with the chassis, we're going to start by pulling this winch mount off. I'm going to zip this off and we're going to set it aside for now. Because we need to get in here to where all these links and the transmission go. We need that out of the way for right now. Guys, if I said this once, I've said it 30 times. You're taking screws in and out of this printed plastic stuff with a driver, like I'm using a drill right now. Don't go ham on it. Go easy and go slow. Because just the friction from the heat, you driving these in and out too fast, will melt the plastic in there. And you don't, and then it won't hold threads, and you'll be stripped. You'll be like, this piece is junk. It pulled the threads out. Well, sometimes that happens. Sometimes it's operator error. And I've done it. If I go too fast, the friction will burn that hole right up. And then your threads won't hold. But like I said, we're just getting this out of the way for the time being. Try to take it easy so I don't burn these thread holes up. So we're going to pop this out. We're going to set that aside. We'll come back to that in a little bit. Now, we're going to start. Next move is we're going to install our transmission. Now I got to find my hardware here. All this hardware got mixed up. I started this build a couple of weeks ago. And then we had nationals and other things come up, so some of this I may have a little crossed up or mixed up as far as the hardware. Alright, I gotta find some screws here. Please hold. Alright, so I've ran down my screws I needed. Like I said, a lot of this stuff kind of got mixed up. So, drops in like so. Before we do that though, so on this front, we have these ball studs, I'm going to call them. Before we get down, let's make sure these are good and tight. Because once you get to these, once you set these up, once you drop this transmission in, these are hard to get to. So make sure these are good and tight. All right, we're good. We're good to go there. So we'll drop our transmission in. Now you guys know on these OD3s how this all works. We've done this all before. Most of you guys have seen this and already built stuff like this. But yeah, you know. Once again, we've covered this a bunch of times too. Start your two, like on this transmission, start both screws before you run either one of them down. There's always a little bit of variation in these parts. So you want to start them both before you crank either one down. Now, I'm not going to monkey torque all these. I'm going to go back and torque all this stuff. Now, if you put these two, once you put these two screws in, you want to make sure you go and spin your motor, like right now. See, that's locked up. That screw I have in there is too long. This one. I think it's this one. One of these screws is too long. Oh, so that's what, it's this outside one. So that stopped up the transmission right there. So you grab the next size shorter. That's on me, guys. Ah, that's not the issue. What we've ran into here. So if you look close, this motor can is rubbing on the skid. So I have spacers for that. Let me go get them. They're in the other room. Hold one. Now guys, depending on what motor you guys pick for what motor you run on your C3 Nessie, you may need one of these spacers. This is a spacer that goes underneath the transmission to space it up so that the motor can isn't jammed up against the skid. You could also just take your Dremel and make some room on the skid here and make that work. But we're going to go ahead and just use the spacer for now. I'm not sure if one's going to be enough. Well, we're going to find out together, guys. If I need one or if I need two. Put that in there, hold it tight. Still rubbing. We're going to need two spacers with this motor. If you use a stumpy, that'll be a non-issue, I would assume, because they're narrow, they're skinnier. Now we got clearance. Now we got them snugged up, and we're free. Sweet. Took two spacers on that. That's why we have them, though. Okay, now that that's in, we're going to roll her over. We're going to move to these front links. So, lowers, uppers. The uppers are coming with this this offset bent. I think I'm gonna call this an offset rod in like a P shape. This just pops on here, like so. Actually, it goes. You need the P that way. It's that way to get this rod into this link a little further in to clear your shock. So we'll pop those on. There's your uppers. You gotta pop these off here to get your lowers in. Alright, I'm not doing that by hand. We need to use a driver. Yeah, nab it. Once again, guys, we've said it several times. Gentle. Get in there. Let go. Now, your front lowers, I've already assembled these. Now, these kits come with your link sliders. I run the titanium ones on the leading edge, so it's pushing forward, because it's going to take the most abuse. On the following edge, I run the Delrin ones. Now, I'm going to come back after I assemble this truck for you guys. I'm going to go through and I'm going to square all these links up, and then I'll glue these on. Guys, once you get the truck built, you can pull these back out of the way. Just put a little drop of CA glue right there, and boom. Glue them up just like so. Easy peasy. But in the meantime, let's get these started. I'm going to run these in, get them started by hand. And then we'll use the drill to spin them most of the way home. And then we'll come back and get them the last bit by hand. All right, let's start it. Slow it down. Now we're going to go about to there. The rest we're going to go by hand, because we want to feel those grub screws, set screws, whatever you want to call them. We want to feel them bottom out in the hole and not just punch them all the way through the front of the skid. There we go. Like I said, if you're running these down by hand, you should be able to feel them bottom out. Really, once you're not sticking out anymore, that's pretty much plenty. Because they're pretty well on that other side. I'm actually going to back these up a little bit, because you want to spread this force out best we can across both sides of this captured hole. Since they're going into this squishy plastic, they're not gonna, I said squishy, they're not gonna back out. So there's your front 4 links. Now we're gonna flip around and start the back ones, since we're already turned over and doing it. Now, let's these are your rear uppers. These are your rear lowers. Which way you put the bend is up to you. I think I'm going to put this one. Well, I already made that decision where I put the links on. So I'm putting the bend to the back on this one. But, so. Now, on these uppers, they're going to go. Here, let me turn the chassis so y'all can see. They're going to go like so. That way, your chassis can compress and not be stuck on your body or your shock cross brace here. So they're going to go with the bend up, not like this, like this. Okay, so we're going to get those started. And the short part, bend up to the rear. Actually, where's my T-wrench? So I'm going to start with these in the middle hole on the rear, because that's the way. Oh, about to do it wrong. There we go. Like that. That's the way I got it set up on my Class 2 Nessie. That truck is pretty much freaking dialed. I love it. But well, here's I almost forgot. Oops, whoopsie. These screws go in from the outside, from the inside out, like so. Because you're going to want this room here for your drive shaft. Like I said, I'm starting with the middle hole, kind of keep it neutral, because I'm gonna use a link riser on the back to kind of get my anti-squat. I could probably get away with a little shorter screw there. That'd be fine. Like I said, I'm going to go through when I'm done with this and square up all these links and make sure I got it all just as minty as I can make it. Alright, there's your uppers. Let go. Give me my driver back. Thank you. So now let's drop our lowers in. Once again, going to use our handy dandy drill driver. Just save some time and effort. So on this one, I'm putting the bend to the back. You can run it either way. It's kind of a preference. Wherever you feel you need more clearance for the way you drive or how you like it, you can do it either way. Let go. Once again, basically, as soon as you can, as soon as the end of that set screw is out of harm's way of getting scratched up, that's pretty much far enough in. There's our rears. Now, since we're here, we're going to flip our lowers out of the way. We're going to start mounting our rear axle. You know, actually, let's mount our shocks next, since we've got all this room and access to do so. Now, each setup, each way each one of you is going to want to run this a little different to your liking, your flavor, your tune, blah, blah, blah. I'm going to run the shocks upside down on the rear, well, because I like to. And I'm going to move this to where I have it on my Class 2 Nessie as a starting point. Which is the 5th. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I'm going to set all this up the same way I do on my C2 as a starting point. That truck's pretty well dialed. It drives really good. So I'm going to use that setup as a starting point. Now, since these are going upside down, you notice, guys, I used an extra one of those Teflon spacers that goes in the seal pack as a bump stop on here. Seemed like a good idea. Time will tell how it works. And I want to go, like I said, 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm starting with the 5th hole. Now, these rear shocks are 96 millimeters, and they're 80s all around on my C2 Nessie. So that may be a little off, but we got to start somewhere, right? We're going to tune the truck and drive it and get it all the way we want it, but we're just starting here. I'm starting on the 5th hole back on the top row. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's where I'm starting. So, screw, spacer. Let it fall off a couple times because you're all thumbs like me. And we'll run her home. All right, sweet. Now from the bottom, we're going to do our lower links and our shocks, and then we'll turn the truck over and do the uppers. So flip the uppers back out of the way. Hopefully they stay. I've already got my screws. Sorry. You guys are out of frame. My bad. There we go. Back in frame. I got these screws already started in here. I'll pop them out. Now guys, this is just a kit build from the website. I didn't ask for it for this build for the video. I didn't ask for anything special. I didn't ask for anything different. This is pretty much exactly as the way, if you ordered one from the website, as it would come, minus your color choices. I just went black because, you know, you can have really any color you want as long as it's black. Black goes with everything, and it's simple that way. There's one side. It's Friday as I'm recording this, guys. I hope you guys are having a good week. Those of you that were at Nationals last weekend, we thoroughly enjoyed hanging out with you guys. Those of you that looked out for us with the situation that happened, I can't even express how thankful we are. Appreciate you guys so much. That stuff happens sometimes, and thanks for you guys being like family and just taking care of everybody. Outstanding time. Shout out to all the drivers on the podium last week. There were some outstanding drivers out there over the weekend. And if you guys have made it to the podium, out freaking standing. Good job, guys. All right, there's our rear together, the lower end shock. Let's flip her on over. Let's get our rear uppers on. Get that all sorted. I'm just going to start in the middle of this adjustment because it seems like a good idea. Now I'm going to show you guys something here too. I'm going to put a washer on into this screw. You want cheap insurance from blowing your rod ends off? Put a washer under the screw head. Especially on a super or something you drive, you know, kind of hard. Or if you're just, you know, kind of a knucklehead like me. You tend to push a little harder than you should. That's cheap insurance. Once again, as stated before, I'm going to start in the middle of the adjustment. And as this is a printed piece, guys, don't go all ham-fisted when you drive it in with your driver. Take your sweet time. Now we're going to throw a washer on there. These washers are optional. I mean, it's because I want them there. I should probably go through. I'll probably come back and go through and do the lowers as well later. Where's my T-wrench? There she is. So you run it down till that screw stops. We want to hold the threads in there so that's as tight as we can get it, as far as, you know, strengths and whatnot. We tightened it down till it stopped on this side. We didn't just keep driving it. So then we're going to reverse the driver. We're going to back it off till we feel resistance, and then re-engage the nut on the other side. Hold on to that. Boom, drive it home. Now that's good and tight. That ain't going nowhere. And we didn't strip or waller these holes out to keep that as strong as we can get it. So there we go. There's your rear all minty. Let's roll it around and go to the front. Of course, we're going to start back upside down because, you know, that's the way things start. So we're going to add our shocks first. Go. See, these thread into the same holes as the back of the battery mount here, as you can see. But we're going to do these by hand because we don't want to rough those holes up. This is already a washer on it. Like I said, we're going to come back through and tune this whole thing, set up the right height, and get it all, you know, dead sorted the way I want it. Once it's together and I can tinker with it and play with it. But first we got to get her built. This is also Friday. A lot of the crews out at Crawlapalooza this weekend. I'm sad I didn't get to go. Situations have kept us from going, though. Kept me from going. Kept Jason from going at this point. So good luck to all you drivers out there this weekend. Time you guys see this, Crawlapalooza will be over. But I hope you all had an outstanding time. If you guys haven't been out there to Disney, Oklahoma for Crawlapalooza, that's a super fun event. It's ran well. It's just a lot of fun. I enjoy it. All right, so now we got all this started. So we're gonna take our uppers and throw them out of the way. Now we're gonna mount our front axle. We're gonna do the shocks and the lower links first, just like before. I know I'm off camera. I'm going to take these screws out here. We'll just do this now. Grab me a washer. I'll go back and add the washers to the rear, guys. I wasn't paying attention. I would have done that up front. Kind of ensures that you can't just blow that rod end right out of there. If it's going to come off, you pretty much have to break the rod end. So you pretty much have to be hard on it to really hurt that. tuck that out of the way. Sorry if my fat meat mitts are in the way of the shot. I'm just taking these screws out from where I mocked that stuff all up to make it easier to build this on camera. So, got our washer on. Got our washer on. Ah, come on, fingers, cooperate. Screw for the lower. All right, guys, there's your shocks and lowers on. Let's turn the girl over. Ah, framing mat, so you can see what we're doing here. Did I mess up? Oh, I just tore that right off. That's good of me. All right, now I got to pull this screw here out because that's where the rod end goes. And I'm gonna have to go to a longer bolt. And I'm going to grab a washer. And I just put that on there backwards. So we're going to give this a twist. If I can get a hold of it. Drop that home. Let me grab a screw in the nut for this side. Sorry for bonking you guys there. That was my melon. I think it's this size. Need another washer. Here we go. Sorry for getting my meat mitt in the way, guys. Then we got that started. Grab a nut. That'll go on the bottom. Maybe if I could get it started. I know, I can't see nothing through your hand, Matt. That's not much use. Sorry. Yeah, we'll go through and retorque all that stuff here in a bit. Now, guys, when this truck arrives to you, all this body mount stuff for ultralight body mounts here, all in a little baggie, all jammed down in your battery tray. If you're like, I don't have any body mount stuff. No, it's jammed down in here. Just to make that packaging easier for us. I'll run this screw in. I don't know. All of this might get adjusted and tweaked around because, well, I'm going to mess with the setup on this truck. Now, there we go. There's your basic structure of your Nessie C3. So that's a 13-inch wheelbase truck. I think I'm going to add, just from the way this is sitting here right offhand, I'm going to add a little more caster to the front. And I'm going to adjust these rear links to get this rear one straight up and down. You want the rear caster angle set as close to 0 as you can get it. And the front, I like about 20 degrees, maybe a little more caster on the front axle. That's personal preference, but you definitely want, what they call it, negative, I believe, where you lean that caster angle on the front one back about yay much or so, and then want the rear one, you want straight up and down. Otherwise, when you use rear steer, when you're kind of up on a steep incline, it's going to get all weird and goofy. So now I got that structured out. Let's move on to our fancy schmancy winch mount. So we're going to slide this back out the way, show you all this. So we're using a NSDRC RS400 winch on this build. All these servos and winch on this are all direct power. So as you can see, that's how she goes. This winch spool part goes forward. I'll come back and spool the winch. You guys can know how to do that and all anyways. I don't need to show you how to do all that. But to mount the winch, take your handy dandy T-wrench. You're going to take this spool hat off. I don't know why we call it your spool hat. It keeps your let's just show you how it mounts. You take that off, set her aside. There's already 4 screws pre-installed. One's really long. That goes on this corner. Rear, outside, because it holds that spool hat. So we're going to back all these out nice and easy because we don't want to burn the threads up. And we're going to mount this servo. It mounts from the bottom. See how some of that plastic's already kind of stuck up in those threads? That's what I'm talking about. You guys be as gentle as you can with the threads on this printed stuff. It'd be cool if we could make all these parts machined, but cost effective wise for all these small parts like this, it's not cost effective to make them out of, fully machined and all that. Injection molded would be cool if we could find a good vendor for the injection molding that did good work and was consistent. And if you want to be fancy schmancy, you could run a tap through all these holes before you go to reassemble it. Now, this goes in like so. We're going to send this one back home. That's the one for our spool hat. That's why it's extra long. But we're not going to tighten it down. We're just going to start it and get it about, a little bit, get it close and then stop. Because we're going to start all of our other screws. Start all 4 screws before you run any of them down tight. And then we'll snug them up by hand because we don't want to pull the threads out. Guys, if you break any of these little printed parts when you're driving or building or whatever, just reach out to us. We can get you more pretty cost effectively, because we understand the nature of these printed parts. So we ain't gonna hurt you on these. So if you need something, just holler. We'll look after you. All right, now we got all that. I'm gonna take my fingers and knock these. Boom, boom, boom. I'm gonna come back later, put this winch hat on. Just drop her right back on there. Wash her. Snag it down. What this does, the winch spool goes inside of here. This keeps your winch cable from getting all snaggled up. Tangled, snaggled, whatever word you want to use. But I'm going to come back later and do all that. Because as you know, guys, you might spend an hour initially building a truck, and then there's hours and hours of tinkering and getting everything just the way you like it, the way you want it. So there's our winch mount. All that fun stuff. I'm going to take an X-Acto knife. Did you guys know that X-Acto makes like fat X-Acto knives? So if you have like big man hands like I do, you don't have to use that little one that's the size of a pencil. They have one you can actually hang on to. I don't know. Useless tidbit, but I think it's sweet. So you got a little bit of from the threads here. A little shmoo sticking up there. Some of you guys are cringing. You're going to cut your finger, Matt. Here's hoping I don't. I'm just going to trim that down a little bit so it's not sticking up. All right, cool. Just that little bit of flashing. Now, let's bring our truck back into view. Adjust our camera a little bit. So, this just drops back in yonder. You got to watch out for this other 1-to-1 output. We're not using that for this build, but it's there. So, let's just tuck these here, I reckon, for right now. Drop that home. Come on. Once again, don't get all ham-fisted on these bolts. They don't have to be monkey torque tight. Just good and snug will do you. Turn her around. So guys, that's a class 3 Nessie build. So pretty straightforward stuff. We'll come back and do the wiring and all that at a later time. Because there's no need for these wires to be that long. Because that ESC is probably going to ride right up in here somewhere. Maybe this side. So really it doesn't need to be anywhere near that long. We can take a bunch of that out. One thing you may run into that I just noticed, the way I ran those wires is not going to work. I'm going to have to move that. Figure that out later. with the two spacers under the transmission. This little collar you can barely see back here on the back of the OD3, just barely. It clears this brace, but man, it's close. So depending on the motor you use, if you space this up, you may need to kiss the bottom of this little spacer with a little Dremel or a little X-Acto knife action to make a little room. If you notice, on just like on all the Nessies, we have our battery trays integrated right here. Now these chassis, all these printed pieces, your skid, your servo mount or your winch mount, and your battery mount are specific to left and right motors. So we have a left motor with a right drop front and a rear axle. We have the drop on both sides. If y'all notice, all these parts go together. With a left drop transmission, with the motor on the left, the battery is biased to the left to make room for the front drive shaft on the right. Same with this winch mount. It's biased to the right because the drive shaft is back here. It has to be that way. So if you have a right drop axle and you need a left drop transmission and motor, you need to make sure you think about that with your build, because all that has to be together for drive shaft clearance and all that. So if you're using F10s or F10 whatever axles, or a typical driver drop left drop axle, the motor will be over here, the battery tray will be shifted over, and the winch will be flipped to the other side. So think about that when you order the chassis and skid and all that together, because it has to be a whole system. When Jason designs these trucks, he does an incredible job of everything as a system. As you guys know, if you've built any trucks at all with a bunch of parts from different vendors or whatever, every time you change one thing, you create 3 more problems you have to solve. And that cascades until you finally get the truck to where you want it. Whereas if you buy one of our kit rigs, Jason's been through iteration after iteration and solved almost all those problems for you right out of the box. So that makes your life nice and a lot easier. So I'm pretty happy with how that's sitting. So here's what I'm going to do, guys. I'm going to bring you back into frame. We're going to kind of pan around. Here, let's go. Let me zoom out. I am zoomed out. But if you got any questions about how this goes together, I think we pretty much covered everything on here. Holler at us. I'm going to put wheels and tires on this. I'm going to mount a body on this. Oh, speaking of body, I'm going to show you how these ultralight body mounts work real quick. I'm going to go through and get tires and a body mounted on it, and then I'll show you all some more pictures, and we'll get some running video of it and all that good stuff. So, you come with a set screw, thumb nut. This is what your body, excuse me. So your ultralight body mount, you can pick where you want it. Excuse me again. Daggone. You can kind of pick where you want this stuff, and as needed for your body. So plan that out before you start punching holes in your body where you need all these body mounts, where you want them. This is just your typical long set screw. So here's how we're gonna do this. You start with a jam nut. You put the jam nut on the bottom or top of your body mount, depending on how you like to set it up or how you need it set up. Or if this isn't long enough for your setup, grab a longer screw. You can still make that work. If it's too long, cut it off. So we're gonna start our jam nut on here. Then we're going to run this through here, I guess I'm going to call it your base for your body to sit on. But some of these holes are pretty snug. I like to put it down on the table like so. I don't think you can see that. Put some down pressure on it. Start the screw through there. Once it's started, you're minty. Easy peasy. Bring that through to your desired height. We're not going to get all crazy with it right now. Just want to show you all how this all fits together. Bring that through like that. Now you can spin this down into your body mount. Your body mount post, I guess we'll call it that. And then you can tighten your jam nut. I'm going to turn this sideways so y'all can see it. So you're going to have your small driver here. Oh, it's in the bottom. It's a small driver here to hold that. And you can tighten this jam nut, and that's going to set your height. Some of you guys are going, this is dumb, Matt. I already know this. Some people don't. So, snag your jam nut, and that's going to set your height. And then, since these two screws here are a little loose, we'll snag them down. Now, before you paint your body, figure out where it's going to sit and mark your holes. Punch your holes in it. Then once you figure all that out, drop your body mount on. Bob's your auntie. That's how your body mount goes. Now you can put that here, you can put that back here, you can put it wherever you want it. It's just a matter of wherever you want it, set it up that way. I'm gonna take all that back out because I'm not sure. I have a body in mind for this. It's painted over there. I just haven't gotten that far yet. Another thing, I don't know if we covered in the other videos. If you guys look at both of these bumpers, they have winch fairleads. Like this one's printed built in on the back, on the rear. And on the front here, this one is printed screwed on as well. So I used a piece of antenna tube or something, and I ran it from here along the side, and then I brought it over to that to keep that contain my tube. There's a lot of solutions for that. It's up to you. You guys can sort that out. Another thing to look at here, I'm going to try to show y'all, is these brackets on this front bumper. These, you can adjust this front bumper out or in depending on how you want it. You can, these brackets will allow you to adjust the height right here, as you can see. You can bolt the bumper, you can bolt it up there, above it, below it, in or out. So these, I'm gonna call these kind of L brackets for this bumper. Make it super versatile to get that exactly the fitted way you want with your body. So that way you're not hanging way out, or you're not too far in per the rules or whatever. These brackets here make that adjustment super simple and easy. SCX24, get out of here. So, guys, I think that covers the basic building of the Class 3. So I'll be revisiting this later. I'm going to get a body mounted it. I'm going to put the tires on it. I got tires and wheels right here. The Class 3s are going to come standard now with, instead of a cut and shut, because there's no need to have somebody make a cut and shut and spend all the time and effort. J Concepts already makes a super nice, he's already got dusty because, well, I have a dog and dust is everywhere because dog. J Concepts makes a really sweet 5 1/4 inch 2.2 tusk. Super mint. So that covers that. They're going to come with our 2.2 aluminum high clearance wheels. And then the foams in these are 4.75 crawler innovations. I think I'm soft and medium out on the outers. And I'm running the heavyweight inners. The heavyweight inners have such good support. I just love it. So it'll be soft front foams, outers, and medium rears. But I'll get all that mounted up. I'll get a body mounted. And I'll pretty up all the wiring. And we'll be showing you that in the future. So here's the build video, guys. You got any questions, comments, leave them below in the doobly-doo, the comment section. I'll try to get to them as fast as I can. And thanks for watching. See ya. Hey guys, we're back outside here. I did some wiring on this truck, kind of show you how I did it, how I laid all this out. Got the tires on it. Obviously you can tell I went out and did some run time on it last night. Got the wheels and tires on there looking pretty good. So on the wiring, I put the ESC up front here. I trimmed this heat shrink down a little bit so that would tuck in good. Focus. I used a couple pieces of big heat shrink to tie that in, just to tie that to that front body post here, just to make that pretty. Since this is a Class 3, as you can see, the winch is still not mounted. I'll get to that in a bit. We got all of our JSTs for our direct power stuff. We ran right down the side. A couple zip ties contain all that. Got our Futaba receiver. This is the batteries I like to run from Race Day Quads, 380, 4-cell lithium high voltage. Love these batteries. They fit in there real mint. I shortened up these wires just so that was be right there, because the way we like it. I shortened these wires up here, as you can tell. Keep that all squared away. Now to mount this receiver, here's what I'll show you I did. If I can slide this off, I don't know if I can or not. Come on, come on. I cut a piece of Lexan, quick and dirty, and I screwed it to this. There's a bolt hole right there, as you can see. There's a bolt there that holds that on there. Put a piece of heat shrink around the receiver, slide it over, made a little receiver mount right there out of Lexan. Now on the rear, as you can see, I just put a piece of heat shrink around this wire, and I brought it up to this upper link, and then I ran those wires up the upper link to here, and I got them all in heat shrink just to keep them looking pretty. I did the same kind of thing on the front. You see a little bit of the wire there. So I used that heat shrink and I brought that wire up around. Then I ran it up that upper link just to kind of keep that as sanitary as I could. I'm not as good at prettying up wire like some of these guys are, but that's kind of the way I did it. I got to cut the Lynx drive shafts in. I still got to vent these tires. Here, let's grab the body. Of course, this thing's a little dirty because, like I said, we went out and ran it yesterday, did some playing with it. There's the body on it. There'll be some running video following this here in a few minutes. So, please bear with me on that running video. A lot of you guys that run rear steer are going to be like, damn, Matt, really? I'm not used to driving a rear steer. I drive a Super Some, but I don't drive a rear steer on a scale rig. So, I got to get used to that. And I got to get I got my new Radio Master M212 I got to figure out. That way I have proportional rear steer and not just the 3-mode that they give us from Futaba. So stay tuned for some running video down at McCormick's Creek. Nothing special, but we got some run time in. All right, thanks guys. See ya.